Inside this room in the White House, Donald Trump will sit once again as the President of the United States. But this time, there will be a stack of critical files on his desk. Some of these issues have no precedent in his first term, while for others, time had run out. The most prominent and urgent of these matters is the Middle East, specifically the wars in Gaza and Lebanon.
When you look at a map of the Middle East, Israel is a tiny little spot compared to these giant land masses. It's really a tiny spot. I actually said, is there any way of getting more? It's so tiny.
What would you do differently to prevent Middle East?
Well, you have to have that ended one way or the other. The world isn't going to take it. You have to have that ended, and I would think that we're getting close to a point where maybe it can end pretty soon.
It is impossible to talk about the Middle East without mentioning another file that Trump considers a priority, the deal of the century and continuing the path of normalization with Israel.
We would have had 12 to 15 countries within a period of, literally within a period of a year, I think, at the most. They have none. They added none. The framework is there. All they have to do is be inserted, I think, at the most. If I win, that will be an absolute priority, just getting everybody in.
Not far from the Middle East, Iran and its nuclear weapons also come into focus.
Iran would have made a deal with us. It would have been a great deal for them. The only thing is they cannot have nuclear weapons.
On the international stage, a prominent file looms over the United States' relationship with Russia on one hand and Europe on the other.
Внешней торговли. Но вот то, о чем говорил господин Трамп вот совсем недавно, и то, что я слышал, он говорил о стремлении сделать все для того, чтобы закончить конфликт на Украине. Мне кажется, что он говорит это.
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that war in one day?
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over.
Economically, the issue of international competitors ranks high on Trump's priorities, particularly China, which he once regarded as a nation with whom he was waging a trade war, believing that God had chosen him to confront it.
There are a lot of jobs that rely on foreigners coming here. You're going to basically stop trade with China. You're talking about 60% trade on that, 60% tariffs on that. You're talking, as you said, 100, 200% on things you don't really like. You're also talking about 10, 20% tariffs on the rest of the world.
Among the sensitive issues is the NATO file, as Trump issued numerous threats to the alliance.
NATO was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer.
And finally, the issue that Trump repeatedly addressed during his election campaign, immigrants, or what he refers to as the threat coming from abroad.
The United States is now an occupied country. Can you believe I have to say that? We're an occupied country. They're coming in, and they're by the thousands, and they have equipment that's military-grade equipment. How do they get that? They have military-grade equipment, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America.
So how will Trump deal with these files when he takes office? And will he fulfill his promises?